ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week. It's Friday, first of all. Happy Friday to everyone here. Yes, the weekend is here. 3 Men in the Box, NCAA baseball show with two of the best in the business, Mr. Matt Grissom and Mr. Quentin Mills, who we were joking backstage, making a guest appearance. This guy is so busy. Hats off to him and his service that he does, that this 2:30 spot, 1:30 back where Matt is, tough, but when he's here, we love it. It's our second year, and we're just getting big and bigger. And actually, these two are getting big and bigger. I'm just losing more here and here. So anyways, a shout out to WagerWire, our proud sponsor and partnership. Head to Google Play, download the app. It's free, and we'll take over from there. So let's see if I can pull these two gentlemen up, the one and only Quentin Mills and Matt Grissom. What is up, gentlemen?
Hello, sir.
Mr. Dawson, it's good to finally be back, start getting into routine again. Life's been crazy.
It has been crazy. It's been busy, but you know what? And there it is. See, we had it the first time, and then, of course, we don't this time. Give me 1 second here. I'm only going to swing at this once. All right. Let's see here. And then I'm going to add Matt.
There we go.
Presto magic.
I'm not going to dock you points for not spelling my last name correctly, though.
That was not me. I will be honest with that, but I will take note because that S is missing, and so that will be going on.
Well, I lost my S last week gambling on college baseball, so.
Hey, he's big time now. Somebody's getting fired.
You know, I couldn't be proud of you guys. I really couldn't. 2 years ago, we met, and, this is our second season. My point is, we do season number one where you guys are trying to add and shed the light on college baseball, the aluminum bats, the excitement of watching college baseball, especially when the MLB is really slowed down and all the changes, and people, the millennials, the Gen Zs, whatever, they're just not into it. College baseball is a whole nother world. And as I told you guys, I live within 10-15 minutes of 3 Cape League teams. And so I go now right to the summer league when these kids get out of school. Some of them still playing. They'll be playing in Omaha. Then they'll come over here to play. But you guys are just doing one hell of a job. This is year 2 now. Quentin, go back to when you started to where you are today. You can see this thing just blowing up like a wood tick.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Matt and I met. It's cliche. It sounds like we were dating. We met over DMs on Twitter, and we both had a passion. And
hey, believe me, my wife thinks that we are. Okay, I need to take her for.
We probably talk more than we do to our wives. I don't call that a problem. I call it business, and we stand on business. So yeah, I mean, we literally started with a DM, and now we've grown and blossomed this into a website. And as biased as this is going to sound, I think we're the best on the market. I think D1 obviously has the heralded wraparound of the sport. They've obviously been here longer. Kendall and Aaron have done a phenomenal job, but I would say they're more on the blogging side, right? But we're on the analytical and the gambling side, and I don't think anybody really touches us when it comes to that. I think Matt and I have put our heart and soul into it. With the understanding that, yes, we can analyze and pick apart numbers just like anybody else can, but we also have what I call is like you watch the games type of betting as well. And we've kind of found that perfect relationship of knowing when to rely on the numbers and knowing when to say the numbers just don't add up here with what we've seen. And I think we do a really good job of that. And, right now it's all free. We strive to continue all free. And that's, something that we've chosen. And, we look forward to it. We think the sport can grow, or we want to be part of it from, the beginning. And, as Matt can attest, if we can keep this stuff free for everybody, I think that's the way we want to go. And, hopefully a sponsor is willing to pick us up at this point. But we're putting out stuff that nobody else has in the industry. And it's definitely worth it to watch this grow, not only for ourselves, but to get the feedback of, hey, appreciate the winning bets. You've won me a lot of money. Thank you. So it's all worth it.
Maddie?
Yeah, I mean, just to attest what Q said, we're putting a lot of time and effort into the getting pitching rotations. That's the biggest thing about handicapping college baseball. We're just grinding out our website, just making it better every single day. And we couldn't do it without Nick, who's behind the scenes right now. I think he likes being like that. But dude is just awesome. I'll send him a request at 11 o'clock at night my time, and by 6 o'clock the next morning he's got it banged out. Like it's unreal the amount of work he's done. And it just helps us get better. Our matchup previews there on the score page right there on the home screen at collegebaseballinsiders.com. You can follow along as we continue to try to churn out and give you guys all the information you'll need to handicap college baseball.
Week 13, when I was going back watching you guys and going back on some notes, week 13, you blink and the conference is over, and next thing you know, we're going to be talking regionals, super regionals, Omaha, holy shit, Omaha, and Arkansas starts the year a ball of fire. Here comes A&M, and then there's other teams coming. UConn couldn't beat a D3 school for a while. Next thing you know, they're rattling off 8, 9, 10, 11 in a row, and the beast of the Big East. Maddie, take us through your Razorbacks. Take us through the SEC. What'd you see last weekend, and where are we today?
A&M and Arkansas both sitting there at the top. They lost series last week. Now Kentucky is in the sole possession of number one in the SEC. We'll see how they fare against Florida. They're taking on the Gators, who have been disappointing this season. But when you look at the talent, you look at the advanced stats, it's all there. I mean, Florida has the makings of being a very good team. For whatever reason, they just struggled to put it together game by game. They're sitting at 24-23. But I do think Florida takes the series against Kentucky. They're sitting here fat and happy, got a big series win over Arkansas. Right now, D1 actually has them projected to be the number one overall seed. I don't think that'll hold up through next week, but we'll see. As we've seen in the past, NCAA pretty much follows along with D1. So be sure you're checking out, because as soon as regionals are posted, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of bets on to win a regional. That was very good to us last year, and I feel like we'll replicate that success this season.
Q, he talked about the Florida, a bad year, but we talked a couple of weeks ago, last time you were on the show, you can have a bad year, but you can get hot in the conference tournament. You can try to make some headway. Give us your look from the Gators, and then give us what you're seeing in the ACC.
We'll start with the Gators first. So they have, obviously being from the SEC, they have arguably one of the toughest schedules in college baseball this year, which is obviously keeping them of the slimmest afloat by any means. A series win today essentially locks up the postseason for them. They're desperate. It's one of those where they're a desperate team looking for a series win to keep their season alive, whereas Kentucky, they had kind of the fat and happy feast of beating Arkansas last week at home. Then you have to travel. Is there maybe a little bit of hangover or whatever you want to call it? I think there is. Listen, Florida brought back a lot of talent from last year's finalist team. And, again, we've talked about their struggles this year. They've had some injuries. It's one of those where, like Matt said, on paper, like the talent is there. Kevin O'Sullivan doesn't have bad teams. they're just not gelling. And hopefully that, you know, with Pierce Kapala coming back, they can kind of make a run. Brandon Neely goes back to the closing spot, but they're just too talented to almost miss the playoffs or to not make some noise at the end. It would be very surprising, you know, if they don't make the tournament. You look at Ole Miss from 2022. I mean, they were on the brink of not making the tournament. Their coach, Mike Bianco's, you know, rumored to get fired at the end of the season, and then they rattle off, you know, College World Series championships. So anything can happen in a sport. Realistically, do I think Florida's going to win a national title? No. But I think that they can at least handle Kentucky in a 2-1 series win and then make themselves, you know, available for the postseason. And it's just going to play out, you know, depending on the regional that they get put in. But ACC, you know, we talked about this last night on our show. It's a little down this year. You know, to me, Wake Forest up and down. UVA's had some bad spots. UVA's pitching is maybe a little regress from last year's team, but they're still dangerous teams heading into May, specifically UVA. For some reason, Brian O'Connor's teams essentially go undefeated in May and June until the College World Series, it feels like. So don't ever count them out. Clemson, I think, slightly overrated. They're a very good team, but I just think that, you know, they're playing in that kind of that Kentucky spot, right? They're the number 2 overall team. Wake Forest is, in my opinion, got more to play for. The division's sort of up for grabs, in my opinion, between 3 or 4 teams. You know, UVA's got something to prove. They had a week off last week for finals. They come back refreshed, and I think they handle NC State. But you look at the ACC in general, you did get a couple teams back this year. Florida State, North Carolina kind of rose to the top. But I just don't know if maybe it's the cream of the crop, like the SEC's cream of the crop this year. And that's nothing against ACC baseball. It's just, I think Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas A&M, and, you know, right now until Kentucky loses, like they would probably be leading the ACC, if not the number 2 team. So when you look at the top 4 in the SEC and the top 4 in the ACC, I think it's pretty uncomparable. But it's playoff baseball. Anything can happen. I mean, God only knows, you know, Oral Roberts makes a run last year. Who knows? It could be Louisiana Lafayette this year for all we know. So anything can happen. That's why I love this sport. And it's profitable. So you can take those underdogs in this sport and actually make money, whereas you probably can in college football. So it's going to be exciting. So I'm hoping Florida wins this series and stays alive, and I can vent to Matt a couple more weeks on how they suck.
Well, Matt, I was going to say Mr. Movie Star here, but that's for another show, Matt. And don't forget, I'm your agent, by the way, Matt. So make sure you reach out to me here. You got about 10 minutes to go here. What I want to do here is I want you to – you've been doing so much work back here. We have a standing room only crowd here. I want you to walk the people through with what they actually have here. And let's, you know, show them how you're showing the numbers and coming up with some of these winners.
Yeah, I mean, so like Q was saying, talking about Florida again, we've got them minus 119 right now. They were even money. You look at the advanced stats. Pierce Kapala, he's better in XFIP Sierra than Trey Poozer. Now, Pierce has been on a bit of a pitch count. We'll see if he's extended today. I think he probably will be, but you look at the team pitching, Florida, better in XFIP, better in Sierra. They're right there neck and neck with weighted runs created. Plus, this ultimately is all calculated to formulate value in the betting market. So minus 119 on our site, even money on the betting odds. The play would be Florida, in my opinion. You look at a game that's starting right now, Arizona's minus 175. We had a minus 138. So if you laid it with the Wildcats, we didn't find that to be good value. Plus 140 on Utah was better value. And lo and behold, they're up 5-1 the last time I checked. The Utah
top of the 7th.
Yeah. So, I mean, we try to extract value. Not every single pick is going to be bettable. So that's why we want to give you options. And if you look at the website, you can sit here and try to click on the matchup preview. This is another one, Houston, Kansas. I think Kansas is the favorite. Houston's actually better on paper. So, of course, the game's played on a field. We'll see how that bodes for the Houston Cougars and Kansas Jayhawks, because who would have thought you'd be talking about them in correlation to college baseball? It's a great tool. Utilize it. Don't rely on it 100%. It's like Q said, it's a mixture of eye test, what you see, backed by some stats here and there, and we try to grind out some winners.
Which one of you has the UConn update?
I got it, and I'll even give you a better one. I'm on the UConn Huskies today. I like them a lot against Creighton. Listen, I hit St. John's to beat Creighton last week. Creighton literally had to go from Nebraska to St. John's. St. John's, I believe, wins the series. They travel back to Creighton. Now they have to come back to Connecticut. Listen, you brought it up earlier in the show. They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat earlier in the season, but they've turned things around. They're head and shoulders winning the Big East right now. I believe they're 3 or 4 games ahead of the second place team. Creighton's 4-10 in conference play, I believe. UConn's like 10-4 or 12-4. I like them at home. Garrett Coe has pitched really well as of recent. Their bats are starting to come around. They finally got over the runs created plus that we use. So essentially 100 is average. So they were well below average for most of the season. Now they're back up to average, which obviously tells me they're starting to kind of get in sync. And I like them at home against the team, again, that has struggled in the Big East as well as on the road in conference. So give me the UConn Huskies. And I know the value, right? It says minus 103 is where they should be. That's where I touch base, and I'll let Matt go here in a second. But you've got to use our stats and also know when to put situational, I've watched the games or situational moments in this spot. It's hard to travel as a college athlete. They have schoolwork. They have other, things that they have to worry about. They're not getting paid to play like a major league team where traveling doesn't matter necessarily. But in this case, it does. They've just came back from the East Coast. They have to come back to the East Coast. Give me the Huskies, even though the value is technically invaluable.
Yeah, and a lot of that is you've got to qualify it. So Tommy Lamb, you can see he's appeared in 17 games with 31 innings pitched. He is an opener, so he's totaling less than 2 runs or 2 innings. So his stats are inflated right now because, yes, he does look better, but you're only going to get him for maybe an inning and a half. So once you reset the pitchers, if you regenerate the matchup, it goes more in favor of UConn. They are the better team as far as XFIP, Sierra. So that is something just to keep an eye on. Like we said, this is a tool. It's not a guarantee. But I initially leaned Creighton. Then I realized that Tommy Lamb has been in that opener role. So I stayed off of them. Hats off for Q back in the Huskies. I hope they get it home for him.
Maddie, what's your weekend card, and what do you got so far this weekend for everyone watching and listening?
So I know there's 3 truths: death, taxes, and Hagen Smith on Friday nights getting that win. Hogs need to bounce back. Dave Van Horn locked him out of the workout room and told him to focus on finals, get your mind right. Brady, Tigert, Mason Molina really had to dig in and like get their starting role. As Dave Van Horn said, Gage Wood isn't just eating innings. He's coming for somebody's job. And that was a motivation tactic by him to, add some urgency. Mason Molina and Brady Tigert are both really good starters, but they have not performed here lately. I do think Arkansas gets the win tonight. Minus 300, that's a lot to lay. You look around it's kind of disappointing because I feel like every single week last year, it was like Paul Skeens, Rhett Lauder, moneyline parlay, 2 best pitchers in baseball. You could do that. This year, I feel like it's Chase Burns and Hagen Smith, even though Chase Burns, didn't start the season in that starter role. Now he's gotten there. Reese Dutton is another starter that he is for Kansas, but he's been really good this year. And Trey Savage, another one we talked about last week. East Carolina has a really good 1-2 punch in Trey Savage and Zach Root. Ryan Prager, I think he bounces back. So any of these teams you could parlay with Arkansas and get some better odds. That is probably my favorite play on the board. And then you've got Vanderbilt taking on Tennessee. Chris Stamos is another guy that's in an opener role. He piggybacks with A.J. Causey. Tennessee is deep. I mean, they're the number 1 team in the country for a reason. They're very well balanced. I love the Vols. I do think that Vanderbilt has a good opportunity to win this series in what I'm going to call a desperation. They've dropped their last 2 series in the SEC and dropped 3 out of the last 4. Bryce Cunningham, you look at his splits on the road versus at home, he's a totally different pitcher at home. So I actually like Vanderbilt getting some plus money here. I think it's up to plus 120 on DraftKings currently. I think if they're going to win one, actually it's plus 135 on DraftKings now. I like it even better. If Vanderbilt's going to win one, I feel like it's going to be tonight with their best pitcher going against Tennessee's de facto bullpen. So I'm on Florida, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, ECU, moneyline parlay. And then I like LSU. I think this team is on the rise. They've still got a ton of talent in that lineup. Gage Jump has been the Friday night guy here for the last several weeks, followed by Luke Holman, who's going to face his old team in Alabama. Greg Ferrone has been good, but I just feel like the way LSU is playing, minus 105 is a decent price to lay with them. I think they end up getting this series win, and I think it starts tonight.
And any follow-up there, Mr. Q? What do you got?
All right, South Carolina money line. I think Eli Jones turns this into a rubber match on Sunday. Obviously, the UConn Huskies, I said I was on. I like Virginia and Oklahoma in a parlay. I like Kansas, Reese Dutton. Again, Matt mentioned him. He's a stud on Friday nights. I think he gets it done. Oregon State and ECU, you never fade Trey Savage. Oregon State is deadly at home. They struggle on the road, so we're going to take them at home. Nebraska, I think the Big Ten is won by the Cornhuskers this year. They're having a phenomenal season. They get Indiana, who they're in a four-way tie with at home. Brett Sears is pitching. He's had a phenomenal year. I think Keister is pretty good for Indiana, but I think the home field advantage just plays a role here for this matchup. West Virginia, again, I like them at home. They play very good baseball at home. They kind of struggle on the road, so I think they get it done here against Kansas State. Texas A&M, like Matt talked about, I have them in a parlay with Oregon State as well as another parlay with ECU. Prager's going to bounce back. I think they're going to sweep Ole Miss this week. Ole Miss is just bad. Mike Bianco should have never kept his job. The only reason he has is because they won a crazy College World Series, but I think it's his time and Oxford's time to go. So give me the A&M Aggies in two parlays. I like them a lot.
I think I'm also going to add one for the late slate. Oregon, I think they're minus 135 right now, taking on a Washington team. I like Oregon in this one. So does the matchup preview. It's got them at minus 160. I feel like there's some good value there on the Ducks.
A couple remarks here. Ryan says Florida's only issue is the pitching staff's inability to shut down a good offense. And Nick says Van Horn should have locked the offense in the batting cages.
I agree. But this is a totally different team when they play at home, right? They're 70 in weighted runs created plus on the road, jumps up to 120. So that's a 50% swing on their success rate as an offense. I feel like they get it right this weekend. Mississippi State does have a formidable pitching staff, but I just think Arkansas is going to be too much. And what it's a little overreactionary to say a number 5 team in the country, it's all hands on deck right now and a desperation to win a series. But Dave Van Horn knows it. You can't right now. You're flirting with that top 8. If you lose this series, you got to go on the road next weekend to play Texas A&M. We know they're going to be good and going to be ready for that series as well. You've got to win this one at home. There's no excuses.
Q, where do they find you?
Q Millie, that's 3 L's, 2 Y's on Twitter. You can find me there. You can find me on our show, The Great JD's Show. You can find us at collegebaseballinsiders.com or at Twitter is at NCAA Insiders. So we're always there. The DMs are open. We always message everybody back. We're not above talking to anybody. So send us a chat, send us questions. If you want to know why we took picks, just DM us or comment to us. We're all pretty good about explaining why we chose that side. So,
Matty G.
At Grissom on X. And like we said earlier, collegebaseballinsiders.com. Make it your number one resource for getting bets home on the greatest show on dirt.
There you go. And guys, thank you so much, everyone here. Shout out to Numi. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Nick. Big following here today. Thank you, guys. Let's cash some college baseball tickets. Have some fun. The weekend's here. We will see you soon.